The Dragonback series by Timothy Zahn. Book 2, Dragon and Soldier. Chapter 8. For a second, Jack hesitated. To give up now when they were so close? Where? He hissed back.
On the stairway at the near end of the corridor,
Draco said.
Moving slowly upward.
Which floor? Jack asked. I mean, are they coming from first to second or second to third? Dracos' other ear twitched toward the cracked door.
First to second,
he said.
And there is only one person.
Jack chewed at his lip. A single person implied a night watchman making his rounds. If he went through the second floor before coming up here to the third, there might still be time to find and pull the records he needed. And then Dracos' tongue flicked out.
There is an odd odor,
he said.
It tastes unpleasant.
Frowning, Jack crossed to his side. Let me smell, he whispered. The dragon moved away, and Jack took a careful sniff. One was enough. We're out of here, he muttered, closing the door all the way and heading for the window at the far side of the room. As he passed the computer, he shut it off. Come on!
What is it?
Dracos asked, hurrying to catch up with him. He's laying a sopor mist ahead of himself, Jack said, looking around. Unfortunately, this room hadn't come equipped with any handy extension cords. A few more whiffs and you and I would have been snoozing blissfully away. You see anything to climb with?
No need,
Draco said, stepping to the window. With forepaws and muzzles, he slid it open.
I will jump first and stand below. You may drop onto my back.
You must be kidding, Jack growled, going back to the desks. The computers themselves were standard fold-up portables with a whole spaghetti mix of cables connecting them to printers and scanners and other equipment. I'd break your back, or else miss completely and break mine. Help me get these cables loose. 2 minutes later, Jack had the cables knotted together.
It will be too short,
Dracos warned, running an eye over the makeshift rope. It'll be close enough, Jack insisted, carrying the lumpy coil across the room and feeding one end out the window. Here, he added, handing the other end to the dragon. Hold tight. There was no way he could slide down quickly, not on a rope with as many knots in it as this one had. Just the same, he went down as fast as he could manage. The watchman back there could burst in on Dracos at any time, and he probably had something a lot nastier than sopor mist in his arsenal. But there were no shots from above, and none of the knots gave way, and a few seconds later he had reached the end. Dracos had been right. He found his feet dangling about 6 feet short of the ground. Bending his knees slightly, he dropped the rest of the way. He'd barely landed when the collection of cables fell into a heap beside him. Dracos was right behind them, dropping into a crouch away from the tangle. Anyone nearby? Jack whispered. The dragon's long neck turned back and forth, his green eyes glowing like a pair of control panel status lights as they probed the darkness. His tongue darted out, and his ears twitched back and forth like small pointed radar dishes.
I sense no one,
he said. Okay. Pulling off his bag mask, Jack tossed it to the breeze. It would have been nice to have its protection all the way back to the barracks, but he didn't dare risk it getting caught in some bush nearby once he finally threw it away. Grisco and his buddies would come hunting for the intruder soon enough, and marking which of the 3 barracks he had come from would be making it far too easy for them. He'd just have to trust that Dracos was right about the coast being clear. Let's go! The trip seemed even longer this direction than it had going the other way, but again there were no shouts or lights or other signs of discovery. Either they'd made it out ahead of the general alarm, or else Grisco had decided to play it cool. Dracos boosted Jack up to the window, then followed. 3 minutes later, undressed again, he was safely back under the blankets.
What now?
The dragon murmured from his shoulder. Jack took a slow, deep breath, listening to his heart thudding in his ears. That had been close. Too close. Uncle Verge would definitely not be happy with this one, especially since they hadn't even accomplished what they'd set out to do. I don't know, he had to admit. If we hadn't left that pile of computer cables on the ground, they might have figured it was a false alarm. No chance of that now, though.
My fault,
Draco said, his whisper sounding subdued.
I am accustomed to thinking as a warrior, not as...
He paused. A thief? Jack suggested.
Yes,
Draco said reluctantly.
I apologize. I know you are trying to move away from that part of your life.
It's okay, Jack soothed him. Actually, it's kind of nice to know I've got something useful to bring to this team.
You are the reason I am alive,
Dracos reminded him.
For my part, that is very useful.
And you're very welcome for it, Jack said. I just meant it's good to be something other than your personal RV.
Pardon?
Recreational vehicle, mobile home. Jack shook his head. Skip it.
Ah, I see.
Anyway, don't worry about the cables, Jack went on. Even if you thought to pull them back inside, leaving them tied together like that would still have been a dead giveaway. You sure didn't have time to put everything back the way it was.
What will we do next?
Jack stared at the dark underside of the bunk above him. Depends on whether they nail us or not, he said. If they grab me tomorrow, we wait our chance and try to break out.
It would be useful in that case to have transport ready.
Jack peered down his nose at his chest. Are you suggesting we ask Uncle Verge for help? You?
My feelings about Uncle Verge's life philosophy do not prevent me from working with him,
Draco said stiffly. He shifted a little across Jack's skin, like a Kada version of fidgeting. Even if Uncle Verge isn't exactly your sort of soulmate?
I do not know that word,
The dragon growled.
The point remains, I am a poet warrior of the Kada. My personal feelings cannot be permitted to intrude upon my work.
Glad to hear it, Jack said, rather enjoying this. Dracos was always so calm and in control that it was nice to see him squirm a little for a change. I'll make sure I have my comm clip along tomorrow in case we have to whistle him up.
Assuming he is close enough to be of assistance.
He is, Jack assured him. Anyway, if they don't grab me, we might as well finish the last 4 days of training before we take off.
We will not try again.
With them alerted? Jack retorted. Not a chance. We'll have to pick another mercenary group and try again.
Then why not leave now?
Because it'll be easier to sneak out after graduation than before, Jack told him. And because Allison has proved it helps if we're not starting from scratch.
Perhaps,
Draco said, sounding doubtful.
We must be alert, though. They may decide not to take you immediately.
Oh, I'll be careful, Jack said. Trust me. I've had enough people do that slow vulture circle around me, watching and hoping I'll make a wrong move. I know what it looks like.
That will be helpful,
Draco said, not sounding entirely convinced.
You had best sleep now.
Sounds good to me, Jack said with a sigh. The excitement and tension of their midnight excursion was fading, and his eyelids were suddenly feeling very heavy. See you at Reveille.
Yes,
Dracos murmured.
I wonder.
With an effort, Jack propped open one eyelid. You wonder what?
I wonder if perhaps I was not seen at all,
the dragon said.
Perhaps it was something else that drew the patrols to the camp perimeter.
Such as?
Perhaps the SNA,
Dracos said.
You suggested it would be close at hand.
Jack thought it over. It was possible, he had to admit. After 5 days of not hearing from him, Uncle Verge might well have gotten impatient and brought the ship in for a closer look. Without knowing the Edge's security system, he could have tripped some alarm in the process. Could be, he told Dracos. We'll ask him about it later. He lifted his eyebrows. If it was Uncle Verge, you have my permission to never let him live it down.
I was not thinking of how to place blame, the dragon said. I was merely wondering if the ship might have taken damage.
Jack winced. I guess we'll find that out soon enough, too.